everyone, welcome back to the Searchlight Sessions. I'm Maggie McClure, your host, and today very excited to have special guest Barry Coffing joining us from Texas. Hi, Barry.
Hey, how are you?
I'm great. Thank you so much for being here. So I'm going to tell our viewers a little bit more about you. So Barry is the CEO and founder of MusicSupervisor.com, and they represent over 10,000 artists, labels, and publishers for film and TV licensing. So his company, Music Supervisor Inc., places hundreds of songs each year in films, TV, and advertising, and probably other mediums as well. He is a songwriter and musician himself and has earned BMI Songwriting Awards for multiple #1 hits and an Emmy nomination, which is very cool. His new streaming platform and artist discovery site, wegetmusic.com, will be launching next year, which is very exciting, and will help to independent artists to increase their revenue opportunities, which is what this whole series is about. Thank you so much, Barry, for joining us.
Well, thanks for having me.
Yeah, we're just going to jump into some questions. But first of all, I want to know how you got your start in this business and what your path has been like to lead you to where you are now.
It's weird because I do a lot of stuff with music supervisors, and no two supervisors' path was the same. There's not that much of a. I've got a good dog entrance. So everybody has a different path. My deal was I grew up in. I'm going to turn this off too. I grew up in Houston, Texas, and went to the high school for the performing visual arts. Ran off to be a rock star. Moved to LA. Got a record deal on Warner Brothers. Went double cardboard, and ended up writing for film and TV. And I worked with a company called Tyrell Mann, which is Barry Mann and Steve Tyrell, and they had an incredible company. And I spent 10 years there, where they shoveled pizza and donuts underneath the studio door, and had me writing and producing stuff for film and TV, which is about the only way you can have 200 placements yourself, you know. And so I did that stuff and did very, very well with that. And then I started drifting out to where I was scoring films, and in LA, it's so expensive to live there that in order to kind of afford to work on the cool indie films that I wanted to do, I had to make a deal. I said, look, okay, just give me your music budget. I'll be your music supervisor, your music editor, your composer. I'll do all the contracting, licensing, everything. And, I'll do a great job, me and my friends kind of thing. And I realized there were a million softwares for making music, and there was no software to license music. So I went back home. My dad had a stroke, so I kind of moved my family back home to Houston. So I've been going back and forth, although a lot more stationary these days. But and so I found some Texas oil guys and went, yeah, we like what you're doing. Will $50,000 get you started? Yes, it will. Gotta love the oil men. They understand high risk, high return. So they funded, I raised about $1.8 million to build MusicSupervisor.com. And we're up. Those numbers you had are actually a little, we have 17,000 labels from 78 countries around the world. And before COVID hit, we were putting a song in a movie or a TV show every 72 hours. But I sort of fell into it accidentally. And I know how to be a composer. I know how to write songs. I know how to be a supervisor. So I know all the different angles. I've even been a movie producer. I won best, producer award for a film called that took 10 years to make. That was just a disaster. But so I've only produced one film and won't do that again, and won't tell you the name because it's so horrible that two of the actors were dead before we finished. So took 10 years to finish. It was a horrible experience, but I do know what it's like to actually be a filmmaker too. So it gives me a unique perspective on all parts of it.
Yeah, for sure. Not everyone can say that. So that's really cool that you
thank God for most of them. Yeah. Yeah. I had a movie that took 10 years. It's like, yeah, don't brag. Yeah. And I'm, Emmy nominated. That's another way for saying Emmy loser, So it's like, it's great to be nominated, not when you're there. No. About 10 o'clock at night when people are dancing around with your statue. Yeah, you're not as happy. Even if you bring your mom and dad, Mom, Dad, let's pay $3.50 a ticket to watch me lose. You want to? We'll get a limo. It'll be great. We'll go out and have something great to eat afterwards, you know. Afterwards, you don't want to eat. You just want to drink.
Oh, yeah, I can imagine.
Yeah, just let's skip that eating part, you know. Get champagne, open whatever booze they got in this place. Let's go. There's more of that kind of a deal.
Yeah.
So segueing in, so you've got a bunch of people who want to put songs in film and TV.
Yes. Our audience is definitely interested in learning more about that. And you've placed a lot of songs yourself for a long time. So what do you find are the most popular kinds of songs that are getting licensed right now?
You know, right now it's really slow because production shut down. So everybody's running in to go, I want to put my songs in film and TV. Well, there's not much film and TV, but it is picking up. And some of these people are getting really desperate for content. So they're taking all the crew and all the actors and putting them in a hotel and quarantining them for 14 days and going, we'll let you go home after we wrap. You know, so there is stuff being churned out a little bit. You're starting to see this film, that thing. And again, I think by the end of the summer, they'll be back in full production. It'll probably take them till about this time next year before we'll be back humming. But we were seeing, and again, we don't see every film that's out there, but we were seeing between 120 and 240 projects a month. So, and I expect when this thing comes back, I bet we hit 300. You know, which, you know, you've got to figure that's 10 new movies or TV shows that we're pitching a day.
Sure.
Yes, well, the activity will be there.
Yeah. In general, is there a certain genre of songs that tend to get licensed the most in your experience, or is that ever changing?
Well, one of the things everybody wants to ask, the first question is exactly that. So what are they looking for? Well, everything. You're right in that, and it's a little bit seasonal. The music business is not quarterly. It's more like 3 trimesters. So we've got, you know, we're on the break now. Everybody, December and January, we just quit. You know, so everything kind of shuts down. Then end of January, February, they start picking up, and the movies and stuff, it's all spring break, you know, that kind of stuff. So we're wanting to dance, party, have fun. And this is on a normal year. Let's pretend COVID isn't here. And then you flip in June, they start releasing all of the I want to scare you, I want to kill you, I want to chase you, I want to party, summer. Then, you know, you get into those things kind of wrap up, and then you'll start the early Christmas will be July, you know, June, July, they'll start the Christmas movies. They're going to be the blockbuster things. But we go into the fall, and in fall, it's all singer-songwriter, love story, back to school special kind of stuff, and holiday music. So it's really those 3 chunks. And so we'll see coming up will be more up poppy. The pop stuff will dominate, crossover hip hop, things like that. We're seeing a slight uptick in protest songs, as you might be seeing. Some of those kind of things are there. And right now we're doing big pitches for Chinese New Year, which is probably not going to involve most of your people. But in February, it's Chinese New Year. So that, and you'll see a certain amount of, you know, romance stuff for Valentine's Day, but that's more TV stuff. The films, and again, TV things and films, it really is jumbled. You know, now there used to be a certain time when we'd always quit, or it was like pilot season, all the pilots, January, you're going to be busy as all get out. Well, there's no pilots anymore. They're taking orders of 6, 12, whatever they need. So it's crazy in terms of that. Yeah. But really what I recommend people do is please don't try to write something you don't know about. If I told you they're looking for hip hop and you're a country artist, don't think you're going to write some hip hop and get in just because you wrote a hip hop song. You're much better off to say, what do I do well? Perfect that, you know, do great at that than to go chasing, hey, they're looking for this. Now there's certain guys that are the writing for dollar guys that, you know, what do you need? Yeah, something like Blink-182. Let's go, boys. We can knock that shit off. You know, there's some of those guys that do that, but not that many. And also, too, the supervisors, they really would prefer, all things being equal, to have an actual artist. Even if you are just secretly writing for dollars, make up a band name, put a cool poster art. You know, you lose value for me to get you top dollar if they know you're just writing for money. Mm-hmm. And I'll be honest with you, most of the time, if I put somebody who's writing for the dollars against a real artist, the real artist wins 9 times out of 10.
Wow.
They spent 6 months making that record, not 6 days.
Right.
And so there's a difference in the quality.
Yeah. Yeah. Authenticity is.
Yeah. I guess what I could do is I could give you maybe 3 or 4 tips to your people on here are things you can do to increase your odds no matter what you do.
That'd be great.
One of the things that I always tell people, and there are people that will tell you and show you examples that are opposite. There's no hard and fast rules, but let's call it an 80-20 rule. 80% of the time, I'm going to have an easier job putting your song in a movie if it has vague lyrics. If you say, I walked outside, it's raining, I smoked a cigarette, man, oh man, is that hard to get in there. It better be raining, there better be smoke, you got to go outside. Holy crap, that's a lot of things to line up. But if you're vague and say, I'm feeling lost, I'm feeling blue, or something poetic, I feel like a night with no moon. Crap, man. It doesn't have to be a real moon or anything like that. You are much more versatile lyrically to get in. Story songs are one of the hardest things in the world. The other thing, too, is everybody thinks this ballad is boy, this will be the end title song. This will do great for movies. No, it won't. You got to remember that 90% of the time you are background music. You're something playing at the coffee shop, in the dance club. Once in a while there's a love montage, an end title, an opening title, but also that's where the major labels like to play. They get their baby bands in there. They do all these things. So you're really fighting hard. You're way better off to be that little cue in the middle of the movie that nobody wants to fight for.
Right.
So keep that in mind. And obviously, if you're a dance music, the lyric content doesn't matter. It's about the groove. If it's reggaeton, as long as you're singing fast, boom, 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 boom. The other thing, too, is if you do stuff with explicit lyrics, always do a clean version. Come on, if you want to be in movies, don't be relegated to only R's. So do that kind of stuff. But so that's as far as the lyric goes. As far as the melodic content, go ahead and leave a little space. Like once again, if you're doing a dance thing, sing, I want to sing along, great, we don't care. But if you're doing another song, if you have a lyric or a melody that's like, where you sing a little bit, then you sing a little bit more, and then you sing a little bit more, I got a great chance of getting you in. Whereas if you're singing, never stop singing, and I never stop singing, and I never stop singing, and I never. If you look at Grey's Anatomy, we have a slang term called scorse, where it's a song used as score. Mm-hmm. So they'll go in and they'll have a song they'll put in. The guy will start to sing, Brad, are you in here? And the guy will sing a little more, I'm in here, Bill. It's like, and then suddenly I'm able to fudge it, or the supervisor is able to fit you in where you're bringing energy to the scene, but you're not conflicting with the dialogue. Right. So again, a sparse melody line can be your friend. Long intros. Normally it's don't bore us, get to the chorus, but once in a while, a long intro can be your friend on that. So the other thing too is when you mix, let's talk about your deliverables. Mm-hmm. Always do a TV mix, which is a mix with all the backgrounds without any lead vocal. The second thing you want to do is a complete instrumental, no backgrounds at all. And the third mix you want to do to be really fancy is lead vocal in stereo with all the effects. If you've got that with your TV mix, somebody can put it in a movie, and in Grey's Anatomy, they can tuck you down here. And then when the dialogue's over, they can put you back up. And yet to keep the track there where the track's still driving, because you have to turn the whole thing down, that takes the energy away. So they love having that. Also, if you blow your mix, you say, oh, I wish the third line in the chorus was louder. Put it in, turn the third thing up, boom, don't have to go back in the studio. So that's another big plus to do.
That's awesome.
So if you do those things, those increase your chances of writing a song that is easier to sync.
Mm-hmm. And I agree with you from personal experience. Definitely the less specific lyrics, those songs definitely tend to get used more. The space that you're talking about is huge. Some of my songs, I wasn't thinking about that when I wrote them and recorded them. And now listening back, I think, I probably should have added a little more space in there. Not that it's too much, for a listener, but with licensing and sync in mind, a little space goes a long way. So
Yep.
that's
You don't have to fill everything.
right.
And so, yeah, then again, it's a different type of writing. I always tell people when you're writing for the radio, it's don't bore us, get to the chorus. If you haven't hit the chorus by 1 minute, you are losing. And you need to have the chorus finished by 1 minute.
Yeah.
Where one of the tricks you can use, another great trick to really increase your stuff, open with the chorus. Because like, I'm having a great day, yeah, having a great day. That means that opens you up to more commercial stuff too, because they really have no attention span. So if you open with the chorus, having a great day, then you go to the verse, it was sad before, and then I met you, and blah, blah. You can have that other crap there. But you open with the chorus, and it can be the same thing. Having a great day, boy, I'm having a great day. And then suddenly, it could be they won the lottery. Like the number of places in a movie I can put you because you're having a great day. Oh my gosh, Or, and I had a bad day. Oh yeah, how many times do they sync that sucker? You can have a bad day too, but it's a single emotion. The other thing too is having those moments where, hey, in the bridge, we're going to go to 3/4 time. Hey, and a blind key change, all those fancy things that draw attention, they hurt you in film and TV when 90% of it's background.
Okay, that's good.
But you want to create a vibe and lay there. You can get bored and go to a few different places, but don't change moods completely. Now, if it's right for the song, write a great song for your record. Every song doesn't have to be a movie thing. But all things being equal, you want to increase your odds at that. That's one of the best things you can do.
Right. What do you think about the slow build? I see that a lot on a lot of briefs. They want a song with a slow build.
Yeah. And then, they do. And it's because, but the slow build thing's tough because it's slow build for how many minutes, for how long? Most of these guys, they like the average song that we put in, we're lucky if we get you 45 seconds. So your slow build better make it by 30 seconds.
True.
Their idea of slow build, it's not a musician's version of slow build. And by the bridge, I'm really cooking. Do not do when you see a brief that says slow build where you slam it at a minute. That's as slow as I'd go.
Yeah. That's great advice.
Yeah. Yeah. When you see it, because that's the thing is we see so many of these deals, where like if you see just a couple of things, you're getting anecdotal evidence. When you see hundreds of these, you're starting to see a pattern.
Sure. So obviously there's a lot of shows, there's a lot of content being made right now, even though there's COVID. I still feel like right now there's just so
more
much
content than ever. You can't even get into half the studios. Yeah, everybody's going, I got nothing better to do. Why not do a new record? So we're going to have a flush of music when this thing's over.
That's awesome. Well, and considering all the different types of projects that are going on, can you walk us through the different types of, the gamut of pay for different licenses? So an ad placement versus an independent film versus a movie going to theaters or a TV show, and the different tiers.
Going to theaters, boy, isn't that an interesting one?
Yeah, really. Who knows what will happen again?
Exactly. I want to see Wonder Woman. Is it worth dying for? The critics say no. Yeah, exactly. Okay, so people always ask you, how much can you make? So on an unknown artist with an unknown song, we are breaking out the champagne in the $5,000 to $15,000 range. Mm-hmm. That's sort of where you max out.
For a movie?
15, I'm being really kind. That's a Somebody Loves You, or it's a big film or something like that. It's normally 5 is like, woohoo. So that's sort of a price range where an unknown artist would expect to do it. The horrible part is you could be a super famous songwriter. They don't care. Hey, Barry's written #1. It's got nominated for an Emmy. Don't care. $50, he takes it or he leaves it. They don't care about the writers. If you're a famous artist, you can juice it up a little bit. If it's a famous song, you can. But unknown artist, unknown song, that's where we're maxing, And the little things, small indie films, $250, $500, $750, they're much smaller paychecks on that.
Mm-hmm.
But your money really is not in the front end. Generally, for any license that we do, the money's in the broadcast royalties. It's in the back end. So for every dime we get you up front, you're probably going to see 3 dimes over the next decade in the back end.
Yeah.
Obviously, it doesn't apply if you're Beyonce and I got you $100,000.
Right.
You're not going to see $300,000 in royalties. But for a normal person, yeah, the back end royalties can be the big thing. Mm-hmm. Mailbox money.
Sure. Well, and TV shows, how do those rates compare in commercials?
Well, commercials, okay, so that's a different beast. So it's like the funniest part is for being in a movie trailer, you can make way more money than being in the movie. So we worked on Meet the Fockers. We had a song in that. We got $15,000 for 15 seconds. We did really, really well. But they licensed Barbra Streisand's The Way We Were for $1 million for the trailer. And it wasn't even in the film.
Wow.
So the trailer, it's a commercial because you devalue a copyright when you're in a commercial. If you back in the day, if you're doing a ketchup commercial, Carly Simon, anticipate, she's got in a ketchup commercial, then it's like, it takes forever. You're in a car commercial, Edgar Winter doing Free Ride. It brings it back, but you're not seeing that thing in another, it devalues it for other uses. And it's not like with a movie, in order for somebody to see your song in the movie, they got to go to the movie. In a commercial, they just got to watch TV. So millions and millions of more impressions. So you're getting paid a lot more. Mm-hmm. So those things, it can be 6 figures. It can be, for unknown artists, let's say $15,000 to $40,000-$50,000, depending on what it is. They'll also ask for some type of exclusivity. Mm-hmm. And again, you're going to want to say in the same thing. You don't want to tie yourself up forever. Although for that kind of money, you might certainly give them 18 to 36 months, but it'll be like, you can't be another car commercial. You can't be another, they'll usually be cool about it in terms of that. Some people may say, I want it in nothing else, and you'll have to make that choice. But it's a more normal deal is I don't want to see this in another car commercial.
Right. For X amount of time.
Yeah, for X amount of time, mm-hmm. And generally it's anywhere from 12 to 18 to 36 months. It's generally a month thing. It used to be very clearly every 13 weeks kind of vibe, but now there are no rules.
Yeah. Well, in your experience, do these rates, are they the same for if they use a main mix or an instrumental mix, or if there's vocal, does that always pay more or not generally?
Generally, they don't value instrumental music as much. Mm-hmm. And again, there's been a lot of, they also too can pay you less sometimes for being a vocal tune, like certain companies, Warner Brothers, some of their TV shows and stuff don't pay very good sync fees, but they're really, really good on putting you on their website and, hey, you're in one of these teen film things, and they'll do a lot to support the band. So they justify their low front money for their extra exposure. And a lot of times it's really worth it. Mm. Not for me, but for you guys. So we'll take those deals.
Sure.
There were certain there was a series of movies that if I said, you would all know. And the money was horrible. It's like $500 for a series of movies, that you would expect to pay way more. And we went ahead and did it because if I'm the band, I want to be in that. Somebody said, you can be in the Hunger Games, but we're only going to pay you $500. Done. If I always try to take a deal that I would want me to take.
Yeah.
So there's some of those kind of elements where we go, this is not in our best interest, but it's in the best interest for the writer and the band. So let's do it.
Wow. Yeah, you really have to take each opportunity and weigh the options. And
it's not a one size fits all. Like, what is worth it really depends on who you are, where you are, and what they're offering.
Sure. Well, it seems like, we talked about these different mediums for songs to get licensed. So there's even more. Like, we've had a lot of in-store placement recently, which has been really cool for us. And helped us get new fans from all over the world who happened to hear us playing while they were shopping for groceries or getting their prescription at Walgreens. This is obviously a really cool outlet. What are some other new ways that you're seeing music getting used these days?
Well, so that's we have a division that does that, and we actually generate 3 times more money on that than we do on the film and TV, believe it or not, for the people that we're working for. And it's, 200 Italian grocery stores and all the Walmarts in Chile, just crazy stuff. And we do direct licensing where we make sure that the artists actually get the money. And that's a little bit of another tricky thing. And since I'm not a lawyer, I won't explain all the ins and outs, but there are a few of those. The things that we're most interested in right now are we're developing a streaming platform that, there's nothing that any of us can do that could make you the money that streaming could make you. Right now, the major labels are making about $1 million an hour from streaming. Spotify got a Wall Street valuation of $50 billion with a B from streaming. And they're not making all that money because they're giving it to you, but they're definitely making money. So we're developing something that's part of this platform we're working on called We Get Music, where we ran the numbers and we're doing what's called a user-centric model. So for people who don't know how streaming pays, 10% is paid to the writer and publisher, 54% goes to the master rights holder, and the remaining balance goes to Spotify or whoever the other people are. And so I always assumed that the reason we got paid so badly on the streaming sites was, the cost of the bandwidth and the streaming costs and all that. And now that we've looked into it, we went, no, it isn't. It's like, we're being paid so badly, it's ridiculous. I mean, their deal was to come up with, we'll pay you 0.00418 or a third of a penny or whatever. They come up with a number that they couldn't possibly lose money. So I assumed that they were somewhat close to that level, and we ran the numbers. College kid pays $10 a month, listens to music 24 hours a day, 7 days a week on the longest month of the year, and we still had $4 left over. And so we're going like, wait a minute, because that's not obviously what really happens.
Right.
And so we checked the numbers, and we can pay $5, about in the neighborhood of $5.40 to the musicians out of every 10.
Wow.
And Spotify for that same number of plays would pay you 88 cents.
Wow.
I know. YouTube, 14 cents.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. And so once we saw that, we went, wow. We ran the numbers with 1.7 million subscribers. It'll generate about $200 million a year.
Wow.
With 120 million going to the indie artists.
That's so
we're going like, yeah, I think so. We're rapidly working on this. We're taking our music discovery expertise and taking it to the independent streaming format. And part of what we're doing is we're not going to put Beyonce and Taylor Swift. Like, no one needs to discover those guys. They'll be crammed down our throat at the appropriate time. Right. But they need to find the next Beyonce, the next Taylor, the next, they need to find you and your band.
Right.
Not the people that all the major labels have.
Yeah.
And there's other things they do. The playlists are kind of skewed major label. The payments are skewed to the major labels. Like it's a rigged game. So we said, hey, what if we start a new game? And so that's one of the things we're doing. In terms of other cool licensing things, two or three that excite us. One is gaming. And I'm not talking about just putting you in games, because that's its own beast. Mm-hmm. And people are familiar with that. But I'm talking about Twitch. There's a big thing. We tried to talk a deal with Twitch about providing music so that the gamers can play games and have music playing in the background and then record that and then rebroadcast it. Well, if they do that, they get takedown notices and banned from Twitch and all this stuff. So we're developing a micro licensing thing where we can pay 10 times more than Spotify to give these guys a license to put their game stuff on there. So we could see a thing where you could have this song's doing great at retail and that song's doing great in the movies, and the gamers sure love this one. And then we've got micro licensing where we do it for YouTubes and stuff, but we charge a fee up front because YouTube's rigged, horribly. but it's where you've got to have 10,000 views before they'll start paying you. There's a lot of like really weird things where we're going, hey man, give me $10 and put it in your granny on a skateboard video. Like we've got versions of that. We tested it, and we were seeing a bunch of black gospel getting licensed in Seattle. We're going like, okay, why? For YouTube videos. And it was a funeral parlor, and they were doing eulogy videos. Brother John died today, and they put a gospel song and show slides of John who died, you know, and run it for 3 months, and that's it. And we're going like, I mean, cool. I mean, most of us don't care how you make your money.
Right.
Like we don't stick it in porn, but a eulogy video, I mean, if it brings comfort to somebody, and we charged it like as if you'd sold an entire album. We're going, okay. That seems fair. So that was another thing that we thought that was really interesting. And we're developing a thing for podcasting where we could have a theme song from podcasting and paying per stream. So that's interesting. And then the other thing we're doing is we are creating a royalty for the background musicians, the producers and engineers, and including them in the streaming revenue.
That's awesome.
So it's a little rising tide floats all boats, so that all the people that help you make the music get rewarded for it.
That's really cool. That's awesome.
And we'll pay those people directly, because otherwise it's a big burden. So we black box it. When it turns into $100, we'll pay everybody.
Yeah.
But that way it's not like, you know, I give you $100, you owe the drummer $1. You know, are you going to drive across, you know, the state to give him his $1? I mean, then it becomes a burden, you know. Yeah. You'll laugh and say, I owe you a drink, or I owe you $1, or here, one, you know, fries at McDonald's, you know, something. So we don't want to do that. But again, I think it could add up.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So we're real excited. If you want to see what we're doing, if you go to wegetartists.com,
okay,
Pearl, that's where we're starting the messaging. Like we're really close. We're about 80% done. So we're starting to really beta test. We're working on the accounting and some of the not glamorous parts of it.
Okay.
And then we'll move our search engine over. That'll be the last thing we do.
Okay. So wegetartists.com.
Yeah, if you go there, you can kind of see the evil plan that we're working on.
That's awesome. So exciting. I mean, obviously with Spotify and everything that's happened in the past decade with streaming, it's been huge and a huge shift. I mean, I released my first album in 2007 when people still downloaded songs on iTunes, and you could actually make decent money doing that. I remember getting a placement on The Real World on MTV, and they went ahead and put my name and the song credit on
It's called a dead card, yeah.
And that was huge because I thousands literally of downloads of that song. And so that translated to actual thousands of dollars for me, which was great. And nowadays, you know, I'm lucky if I have 10 people buy a song in a month. You know, it's just changed.
Well, we've moved from a purchasing economy to a rental.
Yeah.
You know, so that's the thing. Like one of the things when we used to make our records, right? You'd go, here's my 3 or 4 singles, and then the rest are album cuts. So I've always wanted to do reggae. I'm going to do something fun. I'll do that. You know, I want to do this cover tune. So you do these other songs for fun. I tell everybody, don't do that. Nowadays, you have to have a marketing plan for every song. Now, it doesn't have to be the radio. Still do your 3 to 4 radio singles as a single. But when you write your other songs, this one's for a nonprofit or a charity, a give back. This one here, it better be 80% of listening, you're the background music. It's just like what I do for movies. So you know what one of the big playlist things? Songs to work out to. Now I'm listening to your song every day. Songs for a breakup, road trip, #1 playlist in all genres on Spotify. Songs to smoke pot to. Who knew? Yeah. So think about being part of somebody's, you know, songs to do homework to, you know, songs to get ready to party.
Yeah.
You know, those type of, you know, songs for sexy time. We make a sexy time, you know, whatever it is, it's got to be something that is a background playlist that hopefully people are using often.
Sure.
So that would be part of what I would do if I were doing it now.
That's awesome. Very good advice. And I mean, obviously, we want to create real and authentic music, but as you're stating, obviously, it's very important to have a strategy and a plan and be aware of the opportunities that you can take advantage of if you do things a certain way. So,
well, it's really just slight differences that can make huge differences in your potential success.
yeah.
And again, it's a music business. Everything I said, you could show me something that was completely the opposite.
Right.
But 8 out of 10, I'm right. So you might want to consider some of these things.
Yeah.
And not every one of them are going to resonate with you.
Sure. Well, what are your thoughts on sites like Bandcamp and Patreon? Have you partnered
Yeah.
with?
Yeah. So Bandcamp's fine, although Bandcamp's obviously struggling with people not buying things. The bigger thing that we hear about, it's DistroKid, in terms of distribution, getting in all those channels. I mean, that's one of the problems with Spotify and Apple Music is they don't allow independent artists to direct deal. So every one of you you got to go through DistroKid, you got to go through CD Baby or TuneCore. We're not going to talk to you directly. Spotify flirted with it for a minute, went, forget that. We're not doing that with these guys. So you lose, presence, or there's a middleman that they've created. They are not, you're not their client.
Mm-hmm.
And so know that. And there's a skewed way that some of these guys pay, that the first top tier, a disproportionate amount of going to the major labels. Even though 30% of the music played are independent, 80% of the money go to major label artists.
Right.
So you're losing a third of your money that way. You're losing a certain percentage on distribution, whether you're paying $50. You know how many streams you got to get to pay $50 a year? Things like that, or, depending on what the subscription model, whatever they're doing, the math isn't good.
Right.
And those guys are good. I mean, as much as everybody wants to rag on Spotify, they did show us a way for the future. They did show us that again, the major labels are thrilled. They are back making money. Everything could be done more fairly and more equitably, but that is the future, a subscription model. Think about how much music, on $10 a month, have you bought $120 worth of records, CDs? I haven't this year.
Yeah.
And we were locked in quarantine. I mean, how shameful. So if you can't rely on yourself to spend $120, don't expect the rest of the world to. But do I have all kinds of subscriptions? Heck yeah.
Yeah.
I got my Spotify. I got my, I'm checking everybody out to see how can we be better. But I got every subscription you can have. Mm-hmm. Amazon, yeah, put it on there. Who cares? So I'm probably paying, as much as I ever did.
Yeah.
But just in a different way.
Yeah, same here. Well, considering COVID and current times with the pandemic, how have you had to adjust, and what kind of advice would you give to independent artists during this time? And also just the effects on the industry from this season.
So a lot of people want to say that COVID has changed the world. It's a paradigm shift. It's changed everything. Yes and no. I think it sped it up. I think the retailers that went out, they were going out anyway. It just sped them up. The sale of CDs and physical product, it was going out. We just sped it up. So that was going to happen anyway. I kind of subscribe to the Mark Twain quote, history doesn't repeat, it rhymes. So if you look back 100 years ago during the last pandemic, it took a couple years to get out of it. So it's going to be 2022 before we're really back. But what happened after the last one? Let's see. I give you the roaring 20s. We've got a generation, I've got college kids in my house who've been locked up going stir crazy. And they've got games they play with their friends all over the planet. They're still stir crazy. The second that it's safe to go out, they are going to party like it's 1999. Like the whole reason we got, prohibition was the older people were going, we got to make alcohol illegal. They're going to kill themselves. I swear to God right now, Martha, let's just pass a law, do whatever you got to do. Because I've been out in the streets. It's drunken debauchery, I tell you. And again, you've got a younger generation that knows that life is fleeting and short. So they're going to want to party, dance, sing. It's all coming back. So my advice is hang in there. We're about to do a boom economy. Get better at your craft, though. It used to be there was a barrier. The labels and everybody kept crappy people out, and they kept a lot of good people out. Now there are 60 million people on every one of the streaming sites with no real search engine to find them. So that's a different problem, which we're trying to address. But the world does not need another mediocre song. So at the end of the day, when you've written a song, if it's not great, you are far better off to go back and make a great song than to market a mediocre one. Now, Spotify, it's in their best interest to market the crappy ones. Tell your friends. We want everyone to come every 90 days. And if you don't do it, our AI is going to spank you. You didn't put out music in the last 90 days, bad girl. So we've got a little bit of an issue with that. And if you think you hated A&R men, imagine, the future that they're all working towards, which is where, I love your music, but Maggie, the AI hated it. Sorry. The robot didn't like you. Nothing I can do. It's like we've all heard there's nothing I can do. The computer won't let me change the price. The computer won't. Can you imagine the computer won't let me add you to the playlist?
Oh my gosh.
That is not a future I want to sit around and see, So I'm going, sorry about that. So I'm going no, I want to do something opposite to that.
Yeah.
But it is there's an upside, there's a good side. It's going to be incredible, but be ready for a new fight.
Yes, I agree. And I think, obviously this has been a huge challenge, but it's also been an opportunity for us to figure things out and be proactive, get creative, innovative. And yes, perfecting your craft is really important to do right now so that when everything does come back, you're ready for those opportunities. So.
Well, one of the things it did globalize us quickly, because like the last recording I did in November, I tracked the band in Houston, did the vocals in Memphis, zoomed in for the horns in Miami, the strings were done in Seattle, mixed it up in Canada, mastered it in Nashville.
Wow.
And they were great, amazing people and everything. But now we're not bound by that. So if everybody's got a studio, Zoom co-writes.
Yeah.
You want to write together? Sure. What's Thursday? Yeah, I'll set up the Zoom call. We all can write with anybody, anywhere, no travel, no, I'm not in Nashville, I can't write with you. Yeah, well, even if we were in Nashville, Zoom me in. I'm certainly not going downtown with you, I'll tell you that, yeah.
I know.
Yeah, so it's so that part of speeding things up, we were going there anyway, but now we've been forced to do it immediately, and now even the most technically challenged people, I hate Zoom, but I'll be there. Can you call me? Can you set it up? The people that you could have never talked them into this. I got to be face to face. I can't write like that, Well, it's like, you know what? Everybody's that scrupule's gone. And the fear of technology. Yeah, there's parts of it you need to be afraid of, and parts of it, embrace it. The ability to work with the greatest people on earth is there.
Yeah. I definitely have found that, people are even maybe a little more accessible than they were before because everyone's at home. And if you would like to write with someone, just ask. Who knows? They might say yes, and you can do it on Zoom.
Yeah, I do it all the time. And it's like I don't do as much as I would like to do, but because of what we're doing, I actually went back and I'm starting to be more involved in that stuff. The best thing I do is write and produce. So I can't wait to get back to focusing on that a little bit. But it's great to watch him go through our system as we're developing things. How we do the credits, how we do this, the accounting, everything by being involved and helping people with a lot of projects, I'm able to track them as I'm building kind of systems to help them. Mm-hmm. So it's that's what I tell everybody. That's what I have to do. I have to do it, honey. Part of my business, So I think that's part of it too.
Mm-hmm. That's awesome. Well, I just had one more thing I wanted to talk about, and if you have anything else, feel free, but what advice do you give to artists in different ways that they could be trying to generate some income right now? What advice would you give?
So everybody's looking for the cash thing. Oh, I'm going to do an online concert. Oh, like that stuff's about played out, I think that people are really I mean, the joke that I always tell people is, you know, in terms of COVID, it's like somebody dropped a nuclear bomb on 60% of the music business and just blew it up.
Yeah.
The problem is it's the 60% where 90% of us made our living.
Right.
Exactly. Like one of the things it did is we would not have noticed had it not been for COVID, how badly we were being treated on streaming and how they have marginalized recording music where it's almost become a hobby or for only the rich. And so, the money's there. People could still make a living at it, but not being paid the way we are now. Mm-hmm. So it's sort of helped us a little bit open some eyes in terms of that. In terms of ways you can make money, there's teaching lessons, there's songwriting aspects. How can you take and make money off your knowledge and experience is one way that you can do that. Another way, obviously, it's a great time to build more content. You're not touring yourself, write more songs, make more records. The other thing too, that most artists screw up on their recordings or releasing their recordings. I'm done, I gotta release it. Why? You know, because I'm done. No. Is there a demand for your new record? No. Hey, I got a clue for you. Here's my first tip. Create a demand, then release it.
Yeah.
So you go in and like one of the things when, you know, when you watch an artist that's really got their stuff together, one of the things that I do is once you've got the record done, I would like to see you have a lyric video for every song on your album. Have them all ready, you know, go in and you don't want to do necessarily a full video till you know where to spend your money. But a lyric video, yeah, you better have that. What about the making of? What about taking people on the journey? Let's make sure we document that the whole way. Put that stuff in there. The new thing that we're experimenting with is what about having a whole group of memes and GIFs and stuff tied to you? You know, how I felt when we got the first song released, you know, that kind of stuff. Put together some stuff so it's fun, social media wise, you know, so what you want to do is what we do is we build a full Google Drive with all these folders, put your marketing materials together. So when you're out there on the road, you're going to pull meme or GIF number 47 and plop it in. You're going to go, I got a lyric video. What song should we release next? Let's pull that one out. And if something great happens, be ready to jump on it.
Yeah.
But take your time to actually build the marketing materials. It isn't just the music, it's the marketing materials.
Right.
There's also they call it affinity marketing. And affinity marketing is when you take one brand and another brand that they have the same people that love them. So I love the whole surf and skateboard community and I love these kind of shirts. Hey, I get a feeling we could do something together. And these guys can do things like pay for commercials together. They can do all kinds of things. There's an artist I know that they got, I mean, just thousands and thousands of streams, but they tied a brand with every single. And they said, hey, you know, what if we do this video and we've got all the surfers and stuff? Will you give us the money to shoot our video? So they were able to do long form videos with product placement, but making sure that the music fit the same audience as the brand. Mm-hmm. So being smarter in terms of how you set that up.
Yeah. Smart.
Well, and the other thing I'm experimenting with, I start on the 15th of February. I did a small indie film called The Never List. And it's really, really good film. It was a female director, female producer. 2/3 of the money came from female entrepreneurs. The 67% of the shooting crew were female. I mean, it was really, really cool. It's a rom-com, high school age kind of thing. But when I was supervising it, I made sure that the bands I put in were young and hip and cool, but I kept an eye on their social media numbers. Mm-hmm. So this guy's got, 100,000 on this and 2,000. So collectively, it's millions of fans. So we're going to drop a single on Spotify every Friday for 12 Fridays before we drop the soundtrack. And we're going to tie the soundtrack release with the video on demand release. So when it hits Netflix or Hulu or wherever they end up, we'll be out in the marketplace with it. And we want to see if we can't trick the robot and say, hey, get everybody, hey, make sure you save that soundtrack, save this, and just see if we can't, fight the robot back a little bit.
Yeah, that's awesome.
But it's also creating a community around that where all the bands, we've had Zoom calls with all the bands. Hey, what do you think? And they're liking each other and really kind of, sort of, I don't know if you remember the old story of Stone Soup, where the guy comes in and goes, oh, we're all starving, we got nothing. Well, I'm going to make some soup for everybody. Put some stones in,
Yeah.
Suddenly one person, I've got some celery. Oh, well, let's put it in. Well, if all the bands and if all of us united, we might have enough to feed everybody. And so that's sort of a theory that I like. And I like testing it on an indie film. Because if this works, we'll do a lot more of those where we'll even put together our own soundtrack division to help small indie films with indie artists in it.
That's awesome. Very
cool. You can't drive that out,
Yeah.
That's exciting. That'll be a fun test. I'll either be an idiot or a genius as per usual,
I have a good feeling about it. I think it's going to go.
I do too. I think so.
That's awesome. Very cool. Well, is there anything else you'd like to share before we sign off today? Thank you so much for all your insight.
Yeah, well, I think that hopefully it's been helpful. Again, education, man. You can't do enough, because the more educated you are, like a smart person learns from their mistakes, a wise person learns from the mistake of others, and it's like, learn from their mistakes, learn from my idiot stuff. You can learn from someone else's mistake, do it. Mm-hmm. So as much as you can do that stuff, it's better.
Awesome.
I'm very popular, by the way. I don't know if you know, a lot of people want to talk to me.
Obviously.
Although I wasn't smart enough to turn my phone off, but still.
You're in high demand.
Yeah, yes.
Well, thank you.
Go ahead.
So much, Barry, for your time today. We really appreciate you being here for the Searchlight Sessions. Again, this video series is designed to help up-and-comers in the entertainment business looking to expand ways that they can be successful. Stay tuned for some takeaways from this session to help with your success. Thank you so much, Barry.
All right, thank you.